Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Football Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Jordan Kitchens and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. We're fired up that you're here with us, trying to get to the finish line. Hopefully you're there, but if you're not, we'll get you there on this Friday. Our normal segments coming right at you. Got Preston Guy, TigerBait.com in 15 minutes. We'll set the stage for the NFL Sunday to come at 1:30. Saints Bucs pick coming up at the end of the hour. We'll also do my SEC picks against the spread. Take it or leave it. Final pick for LSU A&M. You know the drill by now. We've had plenty of Football Fridays, so let's get this one rocking and rolling the way we do every single day.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
I don't like cliches. I think they're tired. I think they're uninformative. I think they're lazy. I don't like them. I try to avoid them. At times, they can just come out. But I try to avoid cliches if possible. One of the most overused and incorrectly used cliches in all of sports is the term must win. It's overused. Oftentimes, you hear, is this a must win? I was listening to a Cubs podcast in August, and the question was posed, is this a must-win game? Of course it's not a must-win game in Major League Baseball in August. It's not. It's overused. This game for LSU on Saturday is a must-win. It is. Now, there are plenty of you that are driving around, listening to me live, that'll tune into this on YouTube or catch us on demand pregame, who would say, this team can't run the table. They're not going to Tuscaloosa and winning. They probably can't keep up with Arkansas, score enough points. They're not going to Norman, Oklahoma and winning. It's just a matter of time before the championship dream is dead, before the playoff dream is dead. Who cares? There are plenty of you that are probably saying that. But the fact of the matter is that they're not dead until they are. And if you lose Texas A&M, you're dead. And that makes this a must-win game for LSU. That pressure does not exist on the other sideline Saturday night. Texas A&M has put itself in position with some wiggle room. They're 7-0. You figure 10-2 is enough to get in. You lose a game on Saturday night, you still got one to play with probably. LSU has run out of rope. You've got 2 losses. You went to Oxford and didn't get done. You went to Nashville, you didn't get it done. So, if you want to keep living this dream, which everybody was talking about preseason, Brian Kelly, SEC Media Days, Garrett Nussmeier in his return video, Josh Thompson to the media. This was the stated goal. Get into the playoff, compete for a national championship. And you may think that's silly, and that's fine. But we'll just deal in the realities as opposed to hypotheticals, which is the rest of the season. The reality is that LSU has 2 losses and can't afford a third. So this game on Saturday night is a must-win for LSU. We talked about a lot of the different matchups in this game. I highlighted LSU's issues at tackle, which we'll get to in a little bit because there's been a change made with Karius Kern. Talked about that against A&M's pass rush, which has been very, very good. Cash Sowell's been excellent on the edge, and you're going to have to deal with that with the true freshman left tackle and a right tackle who's taking his lumps. Talked about it. Talked about Texas A&M's elite wide receivers, Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver, going against Mansour Delane, P.J. Woodland, DJ Pickett. That LSU secondary, that is good on good. That's going to be some good stuff on the outside on Saturday night. Talked about it. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks coming up because it's a big night for them. But I also point to one spot on the field that I think is incredibly crucial in this game if LSU is to have a chance to spring a small upset on Saturday night in terms of the Vegas number. That is this Texas A&M offensive line. You've got Trey Zunn at left tackle, Chase Basantis, who is, I believe, in year 426 at Texas A&M. He's at left guard. You got Mark Nebu Jr. at center. Armaj Reed-Adams at right guard. Demetrius Crownover is at right tackle. It's a veteran group. Entering this season, they had 161 career starts. That was 5th most among all FBS schools. And A&M has leaned on this group hard through the first 2 months of the season. This is a team that is one of just 5 FBS offenses that's in the top 30 in total yards, passing efficiency, rushing, scoring, and time of possession. They are the leader in the FBS in fewest tackles per loss allowed per game. They only allow 2.7 TFLs per game. If you look at Pro Football Focus, another metric here, it's an A&M offensive line that's got a 92.7 pass block efficiency rating. That's 9th in the Power 4. This is a very, very, very good and big group. They average 323 pounds up front. And if LSU is going to win this football game, you've got to match them. You don't have to dominate them. I'm not suggesting that LSU is going to go out there and get 9 TFLs against a team that averages 3. I'm not saying that LSU is going to go back there and roll up 5 sacks. We haven't seen this LSU pass rush be very good, quite frankly. They've been okay sending some blitzes and getting home there or getting into the backfield. They didn't get Diego Pavia on the ground last week, but they got back there. But you got to hold your own. And last week, against a unique Vanderbilt offensive line, that's another word that's overused and improperly used all the time, but there's not a line exactly like Vanderbilt's that switches sides and has that type of offensive personality and has that kind of maturity. Against those guys, LSU did a good job with the traditional, and I use air quotes there, run game in terms of just handing the ball off to the tailback. Vanderbilt didn't run for a ton. They broke one late, but a lot of Vanderbilt's running was done with Pavia off script, some awkward plays that ended up hurting LSU. But when you just handed the ball off, LSU was pretty good straight ahead, and they've been that all year. Clemson gave up on the run. Florida could not run the ball on LSU. These are worse teams than Texas A&M. But you look at that defensive front that you think is getting Jamari Butler back, that hopefully gets Bernard Gooden back. Got Jacobian Guillory, Ahmad Bro, Don McKinley, Jack Pyburn, who's really good against the run, Patrick Payton. They have got to, in front of that linebacking group that does not have Whit Weeks, you've got to hold up your end of the bargain. You've got to force a couple negative plays. You've got to get a couple short yardage stops. You cannot allow Texas A&M's offense to get rolling on the ground, because if it does, you saw that last year, it's a nightmare. This is a team that wants to line up and run the football. And they can. They absolutely ran all over the Auburn Tigers. Just absolutely torched them on the ground. And that's what they want to do. That's what Mike Elko, that's what Colin Klein wants to do. Wasn't the prettiest thing in the world, but they got it done. Now, Le'Veon Moss played for them in that game. He's not going to play in this game. And he had 139 yards, but A&M ran it 47 times in that game. 47 times. Reuben Owens ended up breaking off a 33-yarder. Le'Veon Moss broke off a 38-yarder. Marcel Reed ran for 12. He got sacked a couple times, but they want to focus on the running game. And if you don't take that away, they're just going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. You look at them against Arkansas last week, 217 yards on 6.2 carries. A&M has different ways to beat you. They want to shoot out in South Bend. They want to shoot out in Fayetteville. They want to rock fight against Auburn. They have the versatility. But where it starts for them is on the ground. And I'll take my chances with LSU's DBs if that's what A&M is going to have to go beat to win the game. There aren't a lot of people with a ton of confidence in this town right now. I get it. I'll make my pick at the end of the game. At the end of the show. If I make the pick at the end of the game, I'll probably get it right. At the end of the show, I'll give my pick. But if A&M does get the ground game going, I can promise you LSU won't win the game. And if A&M doesn't get the ground game going, I promise you LSU will have a chance to win the game. I think it is a crucial spot in this game because of the personality of A&M. And theoretically, you look at LSU on paper, you look at what they are physically, you look at their maturity and their depth up front, outside of missing Whit Weeks, like, you should have a chance. This is not going to be like last year where LSU was really taken off guard by the fact that Marcel Reed was in the game. LSU was taken off guard by that, and they had no plan for it, and that was a huge mistake. They'll be ready for him this time around. And if you're saying to me that A&M has a menu of options, which I would suggest they do, I'm going to try to force them to choose throwing the football. And look, Marcel Reed threw for 300 in South Bend. Made the play on fourth down when he had to. Got help from an obvious hold that wasn't called. Oh, well. It's the official's job. But he made the plays when it counted on the road. You have to look at this Texas A&M offensive front, the Maroon Goons, as they're called. You got to stare them down and hold your own. Doesn't have to be completely dominant. A&M's going to run the ball a lot, and they'll probably get some yards. But you cannot let them crack 200 yards rushing and get the ball rolling downhill. Force them into some 2nd and 10s, force them into some 3rd and 9s, and take your chances with probably the strength of your team right now, which is your corners. That's where I am. Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver, they might get you. I certainly would not shut the door on that. But what you've got to do is make sure that that's what A&M has to do. Because if you give them the easy way out, they're going to take it. And they're very capable there. So, to me, the running game, big spot in this game. LSU's held its own there all year long, outside of some wonky stuff in Nashville. This is not an A&M team that wants to run the same tempo as Ole Miss, but they're going to have some quarterback run, and they're going to hand the football off. You got to hold your own at the point of attack if you're LSU. All right, Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp brings you our Friday shows every single week. Always appreciate the folks at Corks. If you're looking for a tailgate, they can help you with that. They feed the masses gladly. So if you don't want to cook, bring things out for the tailgate, let Corks help you out tomorrow. Got big old trays, that crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, those honey butter rolls, your coleslaw, all the sauces your heart can desire, hush puppies. They got it all. Check out the menu online at corksfishandshrimp.com. Looks like we're going to have to move Preston back a little bit. So we'll continue our discussion with LSU and Texas A&M as we move forward. When we come back, we will get to the Saints and the Buccaneers. I'll give you my pick for that game. We'll do it when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. They can customize their work to fit your exact specifications. That's the beauty when they come in and design that closet for you. They'll give you a questionnaire in that consultation. How many pair of shoes you got? How many clothing options are we talking about? How many people are using these closets? All that can be taken care of and customized. If you're looking for an example of their great work, just go to onebathandclosets.com. You'll see some of the pictures. You can see the reviews from their satisfied customers there as well, and you can request that free sit-down with David Duvall, who's been doing this for 30 years, and he can help you walk through this process step by step. Closet space is important. I learned that out the hard way. I had to move to go ahead and take care of our situation in the Palmer house. You don't have to do that. You can call One Bath and Closets. Find them online at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Chat with Preston Guy 1 hour from right now. Get you set up for the NFL slate to come. Got an amazing stat to run through in the NFL slate here coming up in the next segment. My final pick for Saints Bucs is coming up here, and we'll do that for LSU and Texas A&M at the end of the show. So appreciate you hanging out with us here on a Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. It is a gorgeous Friday in the capital city. Hope you're out there enjoying it if you're in South Louisiana. We'll see when the rain comes. I don't know when that's going to happen. Might be pregame, might be right in the middle of the game, hopefully postgame. Sounds like weather's headed our direction, but for right now, it's gorgeous out there. My kids had Fall Fest over at the school/daycare today. Apparently that was a festive occasion, so hopefully you're able to spend some time with friends and family in the outdoors today before things get a little sloppy later this weekend. Speaking of later this weekend, the Saints will play the Buccaneers late game, 3:05 on Fox on Sunday. Injury discussion has really dominated the week when it comes to this game. Mike Evans being out with a broken clavicle. Chris Godwin got the leg injury. Jalen McMillan with a neck issue. Bucky Irving's got a foot and a shoulder issue for running back for Tampa. The Saints going to be moving on without their best offensive player in Eric McCoy at center, which is a big, big deal, obviously, especially going against Vita Vea and this Bucs front. So the injuries have dominated the discussion, but I kind of want to move a little bit beyond that, even though it's tough to do, and talk about what I think goes on the field. The Saints' run defense was just abhorrent last week. It's just awful. I mean, you're watching the game and you can see it, but if you just turn on the highlight package and condense that game down to like the 15 minutes that are on YouTube, like it's just a bunch of DeAndre Swift running 15 yards before anybody touches him. The Saints' run defense was terrible. And so you're looking at the advanced analytics that you sometimes read about, and the Saints rank near the bottom of the league in rush stop win rate, 27.7%. I know that Bucky Irving's not there for the Bucs, but I still think they're going to try to test that Saints run defense. And I think they're going to try to run it right at the Saints. We saw them do it last year in the Dome. So that's what's got to happen first. Your guys up front, Gottschall, Brzee, Cam, Chase Young coming back from illness, Granderson, DeMario, Werner. If they get a wild hair and put Stutzman in there, like that front has got to be miles better than it was last week. Because if you're not, and you just let teams run wind sprints to the tune of 200 yards on the ground, you have no shot of winning this game. None. So off the bus, first thing, NFL teams don't necessarily ride a bus to their home games, but first thing, you got to stop the run. You have to. Because if you don't, you've got no chance. Because Baker Mayfield, save last week when things got a little hairy against the Lions, has played great football this year. You're talking about a quarterback who has 8 passing touchdowns on deep throws that travel 20-plus yards in the air. That's something the Saints have been searching for. The Bucs got it. And I know they don't have their go-to guys at wide receiver, but Ibuka's pretty talented. And Baker will take his shots. And they will be there if you cannot put up a resistance against the run. And so that's like job number one for New Orleans, got to stop the run. Secondly, for New Orleans, you got to run the ball. Like this is kind of cliche stuff, but it's just very true. And I think Alvin Kamara is going to get a huge workload in this game. I just don't feel like Devin Neal is at the point where he's going to get 12 carries in this game. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he has to. But this feels like last year. Remember last year, Miller was hurt, and essentially they just said, Kamara, we got to have you, bud. And he was banged up, apparently had broken ribs, and he went out there and gutted through it. And it was probably unfair, but it was a huge workload. And I feel like you're going to get that in this game. Because with a new center, with young tackles, I just don't want to put too much pressure on them in pass pro. I'd rather move forward. So I think in this game, the Saints have got to try to establish some sort of running game. If you can't do that, forget it. These are two organizations that are very familiar with each other, even though you got a new coaching staff here with the Saints. Division games can be weird, but this one feels to me to be straightforward from that perspective. This is a game, as I said yesterday, that if I look at this in August, I'm going, I don't think so. And this is a game where if you look at it 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, you're going, okay, probably not. Because the Bucs got off to a good start. They beat Atlanta on the road by a field goal. Then they beat the Texans on the road. Starting 2-0 on the road, pretty impressive stuff. They go beat the Jets. They hang with the Eagles but lose that game. They go to Seattle and win. The Saints saw how difficult that is. Then they beat San Francisco. And you're looking up, and this is a team that's 5-1 with a one-score loss to the Eagles, who at that point were playing a lot better. And it's like, this is a mismatch against the Saints. But now you look back and you go, okay, well, they played really poorly against a really good Lions team last week. Short week, and their injury list is really long. And it feels different. It feels like a different deal. But what I keep going back to on the field, not with injuries, is this is Spencer Rattler against Baker Mayfield. And if I'm putting together a tier list of quarterbacks in the NFL, Spencer Rattler's going to be bottom half. And the way Baker Mayfield has played is what, top 5? Is that too ambitious? Like, I don't know if that's too ambitious to label Baker Mayfield's play this year as top 5 in the NFL.
It's top 10 for sure.
Yeah, top 10 for sure.
Top 10 for sure.
And so that spot is the one that bothers me. That's the one that I have a hard time getting over the hump on to pick New Orleans. I think Rattler's played better, and he certainly has to play well in this game. Because last week was that first crack in the door of, okay, when do we need to get a look? Because I told you 2 weeks ago, I was like, this is not a move that I'm ready to make at this point. You've got time. You can be patient. I don't have to go to Tyler Shuck the way Rattler is developing. But at the same breath, I said, look, if the plateau happens or a drop-off happens, that's when you will make that call. And last week was bad. It was bad. Got to take care of the football on the first drive of the game, carelessly handling it in traffic. You can't make the throws he did for both reasons, inaccuracy and poor decision-making for those 3 picks. Making the throw behind Mason Tipton, bad decision to wing it down the field, thrown against his body. It's just bad. He played a bad game. And I'm okay with the bad game for still a fairly new young quarterback. But you can't stack bad games. And if you play another one here, I think you're looking at his last shot in Los Angeles before you're going to have to make that switch. So it's a big spot for Spencer Rattler. The Saints have got to stop the run, which they didn't do last week, and they've got to get Kamara going to make things a little bit easier. And then make it a tight game. Make it a tight game, and maybe you make the play to win it late in this game. I'm not going to pick the Saints in this game. I'm going to pick Tampa to do it in kind of an ugly game, kind of just not an aesthetically pleasing game. I'll take Tampa 27-16. I think the Saints settle for some field goals. That's another thing we got to talk about because Blake Grupe's 1 miss away from tryout season. But I think this is an ugly game. I think it's one that Baker Mayfield makes some plays in. I don't trust Spencer Rattler to do that right now. And I think that the Bucs probably pull ahead by a second score in the fourth quarter, keep the Saints at arm's distance, and win the game. That's my 2 cents on it. I got the Buccaneers winning this one in New Orleans behind Baker Mayfield, who I just think is probably the most impactful player on the field Sunday afternoon in the Dome. So that's my thoughts on it. Jordan Kitchens, you've heard my breakdown. You've heard me talk about it this week. How are we feeling?
I'm not gonna come out on a limb and go back to Saints like I did last week.
I did that too. That was a poor decision.
Yeah, I learned from my mistakes. It's not. This is blasphemous. I'm even saying this on, especially about my squad. But at the same time, it's like the Bucs. They have playoff aspirations. They have the better quarterback. It's cool. You're in the Dome, but it's like at this point in time, the Saints just got to show me. And I get it. It's the NFL. Any given Sunday, anybody can be beaten. So it's not like this is a 10-0, super team coming into the Dome. But the Saints, they're going to have to pull off a miracle. It will have to be an ugly game for the Saints to win, like you said. Like, they're going to have to muck
turnovers.
it up.
Gotta have turnovers.
You're going to have to a lot of, peanut punch fumbles. You're going a whole bunch of just
You need a frustrated
miracle.
Baker who doesn't have his 2 wide receivers, and he gets overjuiced and makes some
maybe a
decision.
block kick or something. You're going to need something like that to turn the tide. But if it's just a straight-up game where it's not many turnovers going on, it's just the Saints versus the Bucs, obviously the Bucs are going to come out on top. And I'm going to have to go with the Bucs. Again, it's any given Sunday, anybody can be beat, but right now they embarrassed me against the Bears. I just got to roll. I can't do it 2 weeks in a row. I'm
with the Bucs as well. That's our pick here on this Football Friday. Our Friday slate, just for those that are new here, is wall-to-wall here local from 7 a.m. moving forward. Jake and Flynn are at Rouse's on Burbank and Lee moving forward on Football Fridays. They're there from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. That's when the guys at Live at Lunch take over. Long edition of Live at Lunch, 10 to 1 o'clock from Rufino's. Richard Dixon involved, all their handicappers as well. And they hand off to me here in the studio 1 to 3. Matt from 3 to 6 on After Further Review. And we go into Louisiana Prep Preview, Catholic High Football. So we're live and local every Football Friday from 7 a.m. all the way through Catholic High, which generally runs you about 9 o'clock. So you're looking at about 14 hours local programming on Football Fridays. Hope you'll join us for it as we move forward in this fall. All right, when we come back, we'll get you set up for the NFL Sunday to come. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. And they have got America's best warranty. It is industry leading. The peace of mind you get from this warranty is simply wonderful. Got a powertrain warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles. That new vehicle bumper-to-bumper warranty, 5 years, 60,000 miles. You just bring it in. They make sure everything is good to go. Speaking of that, your complimentary scheduled maintenance for 3 years. When you got to get that oil change, you got to get that air filter handled, the wiper blades need a touch up. Hey, they got you covered for 3 years, complimentary, and it's valet. They'll go get your car, bring it back to the dealership, get that service done, leave you a loaner so you're not without a car, bring it back to you when it's done. It's the convenience. It's the customer service. It's all part of being a Genesis driver. Most of you have not gotten behind the wheel of a Genesis. Make that change when you're in the market for a vehicle. Might be next month. Might be next year. Keep Genesis on your list there. Airline at PQ and online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Getting you ready for the Saints and Bucs. Gave you my pick in the last segment. We will talk Tigers and Aggies coming up in the next segment. We'll do that with Preston Guy at 2:15. My SEC picks against the spread coming up in about 25 minutes or so. A little bit more than that, but right around there. And then, again, my pick for LSU and Texas A&M at the end of our show today. Hope you're having a good one on this Friday. Wild slate of NFL games in a weird way. I rank them in tiers every single week, and I give you the worst stuff at 4 all the way up to the best stuff at 1. I don't have anything in tier 4 this week, and I don't have anything in tier 1. It's just a bunch of, okay, football action. And those tend to be kind of the weirdest weekends at times. So let's crank it up the way we do every Friday and get you ready for the NFL slate to come. I told you, there's nothing in tier 4. There's no awful action. So we just skip up to tier 3. Jets at the Bengals. It's not great. It could be tier 4. Maybe it's the diehard Bengals fan in me, except I haven't watched them since Joe got hurt. That was to put it in tier 3. The Jets are 0-7. We'll see if they go with Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields. The Bengals are the worst rushing team in the NFL, and that's just an indictment on the organization that they cannot put anything around Joe Burrow. I know he's out, but they don't do anything else well when he's not there. Stinks. Maybe Flacco can throw to Chase 50 more times this week. Dolphins are at the Falcons. Bijan Robinson leads the NFL in total yards per game, and the Dolphins have allowed 5 of their 7 running backs they've faced over 100 yards. If you're a Bijan owner in fantasy, you're going to win this week because he's going to go berserk against the Dolphins. The Browns are at the Patriots. Drake May has had the highest QBR in the NFL against man coverage, and that Browns defense is very good, and they play a ton of man. We'll see if Drake May can handle them. Look, the Browns, 0-8 against the spread in their last 8 road games. Not overall, not straight up. 0-8 against the number, and you know they're not being favored on the road. That's pathetic by the Browns. The Eagles are at the Giants. Divisional game. The Giants haven't won in Philly since 2013. I just, for grins, looked up what was the top song the last time that the Giants beat the Eagles in Philly. It was Radioactive by Imagine Dragons. That's been around a while. The Giants don't win in Philly really ever. All right, the Titans are at the Colts. The Colts have won 5 straight versus the Titans with 4 different quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, Joe Flacco, Gardner Minshew, and Anthony Richardson. Doesn't matter. Colts still beat the Titans. That is not great, Nashville. All right, tier 2, better football. Nothing at the top of the list, so this is as good as you got this week. Got the Bills at the Panthers. The Panthers are 4-3. I didn't even realize that. So deep in the Saints over here, now I don't even care about the NFC South because the Saints aren't going to win that. Panthers have a winning record. And the Bills have not cracked 20 points in either of their last 2 games. Last time they went 3 straight without cracking 20 was back in 2020, the COVID season. Let's see if the Bills can shake out of it in Charlotte. The Bears are at the Ravens. 1-5 is tied for the worst start in Ravens franchise history. Think Lamar is going to be back. He's out there on the practice field. The Bears are plus 6.5 in this game, and they have covered 4 straight. I think they might be able to go to Baltimore and cover this one as well. The Ravens just aren't playing defense really at all. All right, 49ers at the Texans. Brock Purdy and Mac Jones, that combo. San Francisco leads the NFL in passing yards per game. That's pretty impressive by Kyle Shanahan. It's going to be a tough day for Derek Stingley. He's got to come to work because the 49ers can really, really throw it. Speaking of really throw it, the Cowboys can do that as well. They are at the Broncos. Dak Prescott, 4 straight games with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's the second longest streak in NFL history. That kind of shocks me. I would think that Drew Brees did that pretty routinely, 3 touchdowns and no picks in his heyday. But Dak is knocking on the door of history. He's done it in 4 in a row. And then the last one here, the Packers are at the Steelers. It's Aaron Rodgers against the Packers there in Pittsburgh. The Steelers have scored 7 points or fewer in the first quarter in 56 straight games. They have not scored 10 points in the first quarter in 56 games. It's the longest streak in the NFL. I thought that stat was absolutely bananas. I realize that offenses don't go nuts in the first quarter, but 56 games, you hadn't had a touchdown and a field goal? Feels like printing that stat, which I read on ESPN.com. Printing that stat means I think the Steelers are going to break that streak. That is a mind-blowing streak. But that's your look at the NFL slate coming up on Sunday. Is that not wild to you, Jordan? 56 games in a row, they've scored 7 or fewer in the first quarter?
No, that is extremely wild because 56
It's not like
games,
they're an inept franchise. They hadn't been great the last couple of years, but they always win 8 games.
How many years is 56 games?
I mean, I'll do the math. 56 divided by 17, which I mean, there would be no shot I could do that. It's 3.29 years, 3 and a third years.
That's still a long time to not score.
That blew me away when I saw that stat, and the fact that the Giants can't beat the Eagles.
Well, I'm not too surprised about that. The Giants not beating the
Giants
Eagles.
are bad, but it's a division game. Weird stuff happens
right.
in a game. This year, if I would have told you in week 2 that the Panthers were going to beat Atlanta 30-0.
Oh no, not even close.
Division games can be a little bit weird. But the fact that they can't win since 2013.
So what you're telling me, there's a chance on Sunday?
Yes, I am.
There's a chance.
I'll be quite candid with you. This is how live radio can sometimes trick you a little bit. I had written on my sheet Eagles at Giants, and then I was talking about how the Giants can't win in Philly, and I was like, that's a weird thing to. And then I checked it. It is in Philly, so I just wrote it wrong on my sheet like an idiot. But live radio, you just got to keep going.
Well, also at the same time, did it really change anything if there was at New York or there was at Philly? You still was gonna go with the Eagles regardless.
What are your thoughts on Imagine Dragon Radioactive? You know what that's? Do you have ever heard that song?
Did it come out in 2014?
2013.
Then yes, I do know that. That's the well dun, dun, dun.
Radioactive.
Yeah, something like that. I knew something like that.
We are extremely vocally talented here on this show.
America Got Next.
A lot of bye weeks this week, by the way, in the NFL if you're a fantasy owner. Lions, Raiders, Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, Jags, all off. 6 teams with a bye week. And then on Monday, we'll talk about Commanders and Chiefs. That's the Monday night game.
Brutal.
Without Jaden, it's just not quite the draw. The Chiefs got off to a little bit of a clunky start. They're now 4-3. Commanders 3-4, but playing without Jaden. We'll see what Mariota can do in that one. But we'll preview that one coming up on Monday. So that's your look at the National Football League. When we come back, we'll transition over to LSU and Texas A&M. Again, we've talked about that matchup a lot. I've got my pick coming up about an hour and 10 minutes from now. But we'll close out first hour here on this Football Friday with some LSU A&M talk. That is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Something just occurred to me. The game is slated, if you look at LSU A&M, if you look at the website on SECsports.com as well as ESPN, it says 6:30 on ABC. We all know that actually slides back a little bit for television, but it says that. And we always position our shows in accordance with that. Eagle 98.1 Game Day and then the LSU official pregame show that I host. But I think I saw something different this week on start time. Are you producing one of the game days?
I'm post game.
Okay, well that doesn't help me. I'm not 100% sure when we start because I know that time backs up a little bit. So I'm not. This is the point of the show where I always go over the game day schedule, and I'm not 100% certain on it. So I'm not going to do it.
I thought the time goes back next week.
No, we're not fall back straight forward. This is just a. I'm not sure exactly what time the game day broadcast starts. I would think 1:30. Do you?
Pregame's at 1:45.
So that's what I thought I saw.
Yeah.
So I think we're going off kickoff time for that. So with that, because I think I saw that from the LSU side of things, which is why when I saw the 6:30 kick on the website, I was like, I don't know if that's right or not. Okay, so 1:45 Eagle 8.1 Game Day. That puts me on the air at 4:45 on the LSU Sports Radio Network from outside the stadium. And that's when we'll start our day. So 1:45, it'll be Charles Hannegriff and Matt Musso from Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. Then that'll put me on at 4:45 for the LSU pregame show. We'll have the call of the game over on Eagle as well. 30 minutes after it goes final, myself, Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite with you on the postgame show. And then 90 minutes after the game goes final, it'll be Richard Dixon and Charles Hannegriff from right here in studio with Eagle on 8.1 Game Day's postgame show, taking your phone calls and reaction to LSU and Texas A&M. A lot of variables in the game on Saturday night. A lot of variables, and certainly the weather is one. And I don't know that it's really worth talking a lot about because it's so uncertain. Maybe it starts raining at 4 o'clock and it's a deluge. Maybe it starts raining halfway through the third quarter. Maybe it starts raining after the game's over. I don't know, and I'm not a meteorologist, so I'm not going to speculate on it. But I feel confident in this assertion when I'm talking about this game. I've gone through so many different keys, matchups, the whole deal. I've done it on LouisianaSports.net, talked about it here. And I think all those are vital in this game. But I do keep returning to one thing for LSU big picture. And Garrett Nussmeier just has to play better. Like, he just has to play better football. I understand this has probably been the most challenging football season of Garrett Nussmeier's life. I wasn't there for his sixth grade football team. I don't know what happened to him in high school either. But when you consider everything he's invested into this year, meaning coming back, and I mean, if he went into the draft last year, he would have gone in the first or second round. Like, he would have. He could have gotten a nice payday and started his professional career. Instead, he decided to come back. Now, he was paid handsomely to do that as well, but you come back and you're really focusing on winning a championship. And then you get into your last camp at LSU, fifth-year senior, and you get hurt. And he can't practice a lot, and it's bothering him, clearly. But he does enough to grit and gut it out and beat Clemson. And you feel like, okay, this is the year. This is the deal. They've got the defense in place. He's going to get healthier. They're going to be great. And you go to Athens, and you go to Oxford, and you get beat. You're still banged up a little bit. Offensive line is not playing as well. You're not running the ball at all. And that continues into Nashville. And you don't play your best. Red zone issues crop up. The defense kind of wilts against Vanderbilt. And now you've got 2 losses. You're banged up. You haven't practiced. The offensive line's not playing great. You've got 2 losses. You're on the brink. Like, this is a lot to overcome if you're Garrett Nussmeier. But if LSU is going to reach any sort of its potential, and that may not be for the season, that may be in a specific game. It may be against A&M. It may be in Tuscaloosa. Maybe it's in Norman. Could be in a shootout against Arkansas. They may reach their potential for 3 hours and not for 3 months. And that'll be disappointing. And that'll be all anybody remembers, but we're week to week here previewing these games. If he doesn't reach his potential in this game, I think it's going to be tough for LSU to win. A&M's physical. A&M's got a good defense. They're great on third downs. They're great stopping the run in the red zone. They force a lot of field goals. Like, if you fall into that trap, I don't think LSU is going to keep up. This needs to look like the second half against Ole Miss last year. This needs to look like the first half in College Station last year. Do y'all remember that? I don't know if anybody even remembers that first half because the second half was so painful and so awful and such an avalanche that I don't think anybody remembers the first half. LSU was clinical in the first half of that game.
Hunt.
Yes.
After that Aaron Anderson touchdown, I could have sworn the life was sucked out the building.
Yep.
It felt like that was the nail
70-yarder. But it was that was the culmination of a lot of things. LSU went right down the field. Nussmeier dropped it in the bucket to Mason Taylor on a fade. Connor Wigman just looks pathetic out there. A&M can't do anything. And Nussmeier is just in rhythm, hitting his receivers. Kyron Lacey on the right sideline. Mason Taylor over the middle of the field. Aaron Anderson, boom, hit the slant. 70. He looked awesome. And then for whatever reason, a play that he said he watched all offseason, he rolled left with a 10-point lead and threw it back over his body, and A&M intercepted it, ran it back into the red zone. Marcel Reed comes in for a quarterback change. He runs the first play in for a touchdown from 20 yards out, and LSU never recovered. But if you look at the first half, buddy, they were cooking. And you got to have some of that. Like, LSU's not going to go out there on Saturday and run for 40 and 4 touchdowns. They're just not. They're not good enough to do that. Could Caden Durham or Harlem Berry bust a 70-yard touchdown run? Sure. Play in, play out, you're going to sustain a great running game? No, you're not. Can the defense play really well? Absolutely. Can the defense hold this A&M team to 10 like South Carolina, like Florida, like Clemson? No, I don't believe that at all. You've got to keep up in some respect. Now, if A&M goes and scores 38, I think you can probably turn out the lights. But if this thing is around 24, which has kind of been the sweet spot for LSU, your quarterback's got to be good. And this year, he's not going to win the Heisman. He's not going to be a first-round pick, I don't think. He's not going to be a first-team all-league quarterback. LSU, in my opinion, is not going to win the national championship. A lot of things you talked about in August are not going to happen. But that doesn't mean you can't do something for 3.5 hours. And for LSU to elevate, not the run game, not the defense pitching a shutout, 5 interceptions like the Florida game, your fifth-year senior quarterback, who was the first-team all-SEC quarterback in SEC Media Days, needs to go out there and outplay Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed's got a better offensive line. He's got a talented running back. He's got 2 stud receivers that right now I think everybody would take over everybody that LSU's got. That's not a huge knock on Aaron Anderson, Barryon Brown, and a huge knock on Nick Anderson, Xavion Thomas, Chris Hilton. But Concepcion and Craver have been as good as anybody in the league. Marcel Reed's supporting cast is playing a lot better than Garrett Nussmeier's. But Garrett Nussmeier needs to outplay Marcel Reed on Saturday for LSU to have a chance to win this game. Now, again, the weather, I don't know. And if it looks like the Bama game in the first half last year where it was raining sideways, that makes life miserable. Quarterbacks hate the rain. I heard Matt Flynn talking about it today on his show. Quarterbacks hate the rain. You can try wet ball drills, this, that. Quarterbacks hate it. Can't get a great grip. Don't feel awesome. Wide receivers can slip. It's just not conducive to throwing the ball. And if it's a deluge, like, you kind of minimize what Nussmeier can do. But all things being equal, he's got to go out there and play very well. And my contention is if LSU wins this game, we're not going to look back on Garrett Nussmeier and go, oh, the championship, oh, the Heisman Trophy, oh, yeah, another first-round draft pick quarterback. I don't think you will look back on his career and think about that based on what I think is likely to happen over the last 5 weeks of this year. But you might be able to look back at that A&M game and go, oh, that was when Nussmeier really played great, put it on him. You don't talk about championships with Leonard Fournette. You talk about the games. You talk about Ole Miss. You talk about Texas Tech. You talk about Auburn. Those were 3-hour sample sizes. He didn't win the Heisman. He didn't get invited to the Heisman Trophy. And I'm not trying to just immediately lump Garrett Nussmeier right in with Leonard Fournette, but it's an example of what I'm telling you about. This is not going to be about a full season, I don't think. I could be proven wrong. It is literally possible they win out. I called it a must-win the first segment of the show. But I think that it's more likely it's one game. And to me, this is that opportunity. Like Jaden, who won the Heisman, like you talk about that, but Florida game for Jaden. The moment to Mason Taylor against Alabama for Jaden. Maybe this is that night for Garrett Nussmeier. LSU needs its starting quarterback, its fifth-year player, its number 18, to go out there and be the man in this game. And there are adverse circumstances. You got a freshman left tackle. You got a right tackle that's struggling. You got a good pass rush. Your running game's not doing it. The odds are stacked against Garrett Nussmeier on Saturday. He's got to play better. The red zone interception against South Carolina was unacceptable. He's got to make sure he hits the deep ball. That hasn't been there yet this year. Like, he's not blameless here, but let's be real. His supporting cast hasn't been lights out here. It's all got to come together in this game. This is not the greatest SEC opponent that's ever walked into Tiger Stadium. They're good. They're third in the country. They're undefeated. But it's not one of these Saban Alabama teams. It's just a damn good Texas A&M team with a lot of balance. Nussmeier has to be the difference. And let's hope that's the case coming up on Saturday. Could be a big moment for LSU's senior signal caller. A&M remains a 2.5-point favorite in this game. The total is 49.5. My inclination would be to hit the under on that. because I feel like the defenses are going to play well. I feel like there could be some rain. I feel like there could be some running the ball. I feel like the clock could be running a little bit. I kind of like the under. I'll give you my pick at the end of the show. But Tigers and Aggies, about 6:45 on Saturday night in Death Valley. We'll certainly be talking about it on Monday's show. Football Friday, some of my favorite shows to do of the year. We had a great luncheon over at Lod Cook today for the Alumni Association. Colin Jeter's with us every single Tuesday. And today had an opportunity to go in and interview Lamine Barrow, and then Kevin Minter, and then Craig Steltz and Rashard Lawrence. Some great Tigers, represented some of the great teams in LSU history, quite frankly. Steltz on the 07 championship team, Barrow and Minter on the 11 team, which was so good. And then obviously Rashard Lawrence on the 2019 team. Had a great time doing that. Just kind of gets the juices flowing here on a Friday in the capital city with the way the weather is. Should be a great night here tonight as we anticipate a big showdown in Tiger Stadium tomorrow. We'll see. Tigers can pull it out on Saturday night. All right, that's it for hour number 1. We'll step aside for national headlines and Sports Center. And in hour 2, we got tons to do. My SEC picks against the spread, Preston Guy, LSU A&M pick. All that's coming. So come back with us after Sports Center.